Make sure you're not making these 5 huge mistakes in Doom: The Dark Ages that can hurt your character progression and even hide things like how to do glory kills, which is now basically a hidden mechanic. I'm going to show you now how to do glory kills every single time if you really want to. This might as well be a hidden mechanic at this point, but again, there's an easy way to repeatably do this to enemies so you can get those satisfying kills that you absolutely need. Again, keep in mind this becomes a lot easier if you have that auto sprint setting turned on. Once an enemy has entered that weakened state or glowing in purple, you can typically just do your shield bash to just basically destroy their face. But this time, instead of doing that, we want to make sure we're sprinting at the enemy. That's where that setting becomes much easier. While sprinting, you also want to be holding the block button so you have your shield up. We then want to jump while holding our block, and then hit the button to melee, and you should be getting some glorious glory kills just like this. And you can get this repeatably just by doing that consistently, and that'll prompt that glory kill animation every single time for you. The first big mistake is not adjusting your settings, and I'm not talking about making the game easier, but there are a couple settings that will make your game overall more fun and a little bit easier. So first, we want to turn on auto sprint. This is going to keep us auto sprinting constantly. We don't constantly have to push on the sprint button. We're just running everywhere, and it makes it easier dodging projectiles and just dodging attacks in general. Now, another big thing we want to turn on is threat detector, and you can put this all the way on to see all of the different incoming attacks. Ideally, you should put this on parryable only. But what this is going to do is when you have a parryable attack coming from you, whether in front or off to the side of the screen, it's going to light up to show you which direction it's coming from. That way you can identify those quicker, especially again if they're coming off the side of the screen where you can't see them. That way you can quickly turn and parry much easier, since now you're going to be able to see all these attacks coming, especially if you're not directly looking at them. Now, one other setting I definitely recommend, I believe your field of view currently starts at 90 and your view is pretty close up. I've definitely liked playing at a much higher field of view just so I can see more things around me, and it makes it a little bit better in my opinion. Zooms it out a little bit so that way you can see a lot of the map in front of you. I just think it makes it way easier to play this way. And finally, again, your difficulty level, you can always come into the settings and change it if you're having difficulty or you want to make the game a little bit more difficult. You can also again change the parry window sliders directly. So if you're having trouble timing parries in this game, you can make this a much larger window, or you can make it smaller if you want a little bit more of a challenge. Also, feel free to adjust the game speed to make things happen a little bit faster, and also adjust the damage to players or demons themselves if you again are having difficulty, or again you want to just make this an absolute nightmare. But first, check out G2A below to support us, who is today's sponsor. G2A offers digital entertainment such as video games, software, and gift cards at pretty huge discounts, with tons of amazing deals on their simulator sale that's live right now. This is a true gate to adventure. But if you're looking for any new game, G2A is the place to land. Games like The Sims or even Inzoi, the brand new release. The games like Microsoft Flight Simulator or Farming Simulator. Even a great sale on games like Schedule 1. With so many other deals, you actually can't mention them all. And what's great is you get instant delivery on any single order. And you can also get great deals on things like software if you need them. I literally use G2A all the time for actually getting things that I need, whether it's a game, whether it's software, just because, again, they have great deals. You can even get G2A Plus as a premium membership that even give you things like additional discounts, free monthly codes, all for literally the cost of a pack of gum. If you've been wanting new games or software, check out the link for G2A below. Use the link below and make sure not to miss out on this insane simulator sale over at G2A. And make sure to hurry before it ends. Thanks again G2A for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to it. Now, one of the big mistakes you can make early is not fully exploring the maps, but also looking for very specific and telling things. So ideally, finding secrets in this game is extremely important, and it's important because it gives you access to all of the best upgrades for all of your weapons through finding all different kinds of currency. Now, the best way to make sure you're clearing all the secrets, all the gold and everything from maps is checking your map consistently. Ideally on your map, you're going to see a bunch of different things, and as you progress through different stages of the map, once you get close enough to areas, you're going to see icons for different things like gold, certain secrets and other resources, even things like rubies that you use to upgrade your weapons even further, as well as wraith stones themselves on the map. Again, you can also find the large gold boxes, making sure as you progress through the map, you're consistently checking it and exploring any dark gray areas that you haven't been to before moving on too far. One thing to keep in mind is you'll see these little yellow door icons. Essentially, these are points of no return for the chapter. And once you get past that point, you're no longer able to come directly back during this mission attempt and come back to these areas to get some of these rewards. So just keep that in mind. If you see a yellow door, it's a point of no return. Come back, make sure you grab everything that you can find, and then go on to the next area. Another thing is some secrets are not marked, and some things you won't actually see until you get right up on top of them, or some of them you just won't see it all on the map, meaning you need to be exploring, again, all of the map that you can find. If you see an unexplored area, make sure you go to it. One thing that threw me for a loop early is there are actually a bunch of secrets that are actually locked behind further parts of the level. For instance, you might see a boss area on the map or other things that you can't get to, and sometimes you can't actually get to them until you progress far enough in the chapter story, because by defeating, let's say, all these bosses, certain doors will then open, areas will open where you can then go and get some of those secrets. So when in doubt, if you absolutely can't find a way to get somewhere, keep playing the mission part of the chapter itself, and as you progress, more than likely you'll unlock a lot of those doors and areas to those secrets, so that way you can actually get to them. On top of just unlocking secret areas by progressing the mission itself, ideally for the most part there are 5 other main ways you're going to be getting to these secret areas. The first is going to be these blue glowing areas where you can throw your shield. Once your shield gets stuck in it, it will activate some sort of door or lever, and then you can go into a secret area, hit your shield or block button to recall your shield, and enter hidden areas that way. Other areas will be green and glowing, so you can throw your shield directly to them and then essentially launch yourself up to a higher area to get access to whatever's there. There are also these red glowing areas where you can throw your shield and break these shields. What will happen then is something will typically drop or a door will break and you'll have access that way. Some areas will actually have a key that you'll have to unlock different doors with, and some areas can have multiple key locked doors, meaning you'll need to explore most of the map to find the actual key. Keep in mind, it can actually be identified pretty easily. Once you explore most of the areas, there will actually be a hologram of that key kind of sticking out somewhere in the map. That way you can find it and see it a little bit easier. And then you can go directly to that area, find the key, and then backtrack and go unlock all of the hidden doors. And finally, the one I had the most trouble with is the wolf statues. Some levels will have wolf statues that guard things like wraith stones or rubies, for instance, that you can use to make your weapons very powerful, but these aren't directly marked on the map. So sometimes you have to walk around and actually find these. And again, they can be hidden on cliffs, they can be hidden in a bunch of different areas. Essentially, each door will have 3 wolf statues. You need to find all 3, throw your shield at them, and break them in order to get into that secret area. These are by far the hardest thing to kind of track down in most chapters, because again, they don't just appear directly on the map. And again, with things like keys and wolf statues, you may have to backtrack a lot of parts on the map to actually go back and find some of these secrets. Some of these will unlock as you're progressing throughout the mission. So if you don't keep them in mind when you see them and you don't go backtrack to get them, that means you'll have to get them later when you replay the chapter. Now, especially early on, if you're playing in a harder difficulty, don't make these early upgrading mistakes. So ideally, when you first start playing, you want to invest highly in things like your shield or your melee, because for instance, your shield gives you a ton of great bonuses, not to mention early upgrades like power surge. When you hit energy shields that are hit by a shield throw, actually cause your shield to bounce around and hit every enemy. Things like extended edge make your shield a lot wider, so that way you can finish a bunch of enemies easy. And even things like blade master increase the stun duration of your shield saw, which means you're able to stun much harder bosses and harder enemy types for a longer period. Eventually, once you get to chapter 9, you can actually wait and unlock some pretty good runes here that you can select and work for your shield. For instance, your first rune, like ground fissure, makes it so when you parry a proper attack, you actually create a ground fissure, and then once you upgrade to things like wavefront, the demons that you hit with ground fissure are actually become scorched and drop tons of armor, which means you can parry and get back a ton of armor completely for free. The same goes with melee. Your melee is going to be extremely important. Now, I spec'd up my melee all the way early. That way I can make our power gauntlet apply shock, and then our shock demons essentially take more damage from our attacks. However, once I unlocked the flail, I started using it, and I really like this. Keep in mind, once you spend gold upgrading something, you can't reallocate it. So ideally, again, focus on your melee and shield early, because if you decide to upgrade, let's say, a gun that you end up really not liking, again, there's no respecking it. You just have to unlock better weapons with more gold and more resources as you go. Again, upgrading to perks like Ignite can make demons hit by the flail scorched and drop armor. So if we compare that with our shield ability as well for parrying, enemies are dropping tons of armor from these 2 abilities alone. Another mistake is not using these best weapons and upgrades that I think are some of the most powerful in Doom. Now for the guns, I'm going to show you some of the best early game guns and some of the best setups for them. Ideally, early on, the combat shotgun is one of your main go-to weapons. Upgrading into specifically the smelt item here on the left means demons affected by burn applied by the combat shotgun actually drop more armor pickups. But when you shoot an enemy with your shotgun, that means you're going to be able to shoot them continuously and get tons of armor drops. And comparing that with our shield and melee armor drop, we're going to be stacking tons of armor, keeping us alive pretty easily. Now, once you unlock the super shotgun, I recommend upgrading this all the way, because once you get far enough in the game, This thing does some pretty intense damage, especially once you get the Eat This upgrade, so that way you fire an increased number of projectiles. And this thing can hit like a Mack truck, especially when directly up close. Early on, the Shredder with the Pincushion ability makes it so once you deal enough damage to an enemy, you can essentially stack them and apply Pincushion, which you can see there, they will be glowing yellow. Once you actually hit them with a shield throw or actually parry that enemy, it then detonates Pincushion and causes a ton of damage in a wide area. Now, the other 3 weapons I'm going to talk about once you unlock them are extremely good. The cool thing with the Cycler is when you deal enough damage to an enemy, it applies shock, and shock demons actually take increased damage from all of your attacks. And if you kill one of those shock demons, lightning can actually shock to nearby enemies as well, making them shocked and also take more damage. That means you get additional increased damage to all those shocked enemies. And eventually, once you get the Overload ability, you can max out your overall DPS. Just shooting this thing, it's a really great weapon. Now, one of my favorite weapons early on is Pulverizer, because the Pulverizer gun actually helps you just weed out tons of enemies in front of you. The cool thing with this is it shoots in such a wide area that it can kill tons of enemies very quickly. The cool thing with this is if you kill a demon with the Pulverizer or melee, it actually builds charge based on how powerful that demon is. Once you do that at maximum charge, your movement speed and the rate of fire is increased, making this weapon a whole nother beast. And the Flasko, once you get it, makes the Pulverizer fire an increased number of projectiles over an even wider area, and with those fire rate increases can just help us clear screens extremely fast. This is a great clearing weapon, I think probably the best in the game. And then finally, for armor breaking and overall just massive damage, especially to bosses, the Chain Shot is king, and it's because specifically you can charge up the Chain Shot to deal tons of damage in a single hit. Now, the cool thing is when you actually parry an enemy, this instantly fully charges your next shot of Chain Shot, meaning you don't have to manually charge it to its max. Once you get into Gravitational Flux, the Chain Shot actually deals more damage to armor at maximum charge, so you can help break through much tougher enemies' armor very quickly. And then the Cosmic Breach upgrade, those are the main upgrades I would focus on because those weapons, in my opinion, are the best. Another mistake is not taking advantage of your enemy's weaknesses and the enemy type that they are. Specifically things like the enemies with the shield, you actually need to hit with enough damage so that where their shield again starts glowing red. Once it does that, you can throw your shield at them. The same goes for the enemies with the plasma shields. You need to use an energy weapon to break their shield, and then you can kill them much easier. And this is why shield upgrades are again extremely important, because when you upgrade the shield early on, especially the Power Surge ability, when you're hitting enemies with energy shields, it can bounce between all those enemies and kill them much quicker, but also it can cause big explosions to happen when hitting multiple shielded enemies in a row. Another weapon specifically is the Chain Ball, because again, once it's upgraded far enough, you can focus on specifically armor breaking tough enemies much easier, because it does a lot more damage once upgraded to armor specifically. And breaking them into their weak state, you can hit them with a couple Chain Ball hits and they will be pretty much toast. And once you fully upgrade your shield to Blade Master, not only when you throw your shield at that point, you're not only going to be stunning those harder enemies for a decent amount of time, you're going to be studying them for the maximum amount of time increased, which will give you a ton of opportunity to get up close and personal and deal tons of damage, as well as other enemies having different parryable abilities. So learn the parryable attacks from different demon types, upgrade in the right places, and take advantage of those weaknesses, and it will help you greatly in Doom the Dark Ages. One thing you specifically never want to skip and you want to make a habit of paying attention to is your actual mission challenges, and each chapter mission has different mission challenges attached. Keep in mind, if you have to replay a level, for instance, this chapter for us had Fault Lines where we affect 25 demons with the Ground Fissure Shield Rune, and by just completing this, we get a 50 gold reward. You can also get skins for your weapons with these challenges as well, so it's important if you can knock them out to get in the habit of starting a chapter mission, looking at these and trying to knock them out early, so that way you don't have to come back and redo them and replay the level all over again. Keep in mind, if you do actually miss some of these mission challenges and you come back and replay the level, all your current progress for these challenges should still be there. You don't have to start them completely from scratch. Also, you have mastery challenges, so once you upgrade a weapon fully, like you can see we did with the Super Shotgun, you will then unlock a mastery challenge for that weapon. And once you unlock it, you get another cool Conqueror skin for that weapon that you can equip. So focusing on upgrading your favorite weapons to the max, and then paying attention to the Conqueror challenges, so that way you can get those cool skins or the weapons themselves. And again, like I mentioned, when you come back into a mission, if you happen to replay it for any specific resources or anything that you specifically missed, all of your progress will still be there. You'll have to replay the story mission part of it from the beginning to the back of the mission, but the resources you collected prior will all be completed except for, again, the ones you missed. So it's easy to come back and gather the missed items. If this video helped you, drop a like on it, subscribe if you're new, and make sure you don't miss out on either of these things or Doom right here.